So, what is my issue with the Hot Toys re-releases of the Batman 1989 figure and the Batman 1989 Batmobile? Let's have a look at some of their promotional material.
What are you? I'm Batman.
And here we can see we have Bucktooth Batman. Now, just going back to this frame that fades out, another issue I have is that the promotional material includes the Bat computer, which you can't buy, which I would have thought would have been good if it was included with the deluxe version with the gargoyle. But no word on being able to purchase that. So I'm going to move on to my issues with the Batmobile. So to do that, let's have a look at the original Batmobile from the movie. According to batman.fandom.com, the length of that original Batmobile was 260.7 inches. Now if we convert that, we get 662.178 centimeters. Now if we have a look at the original Batman 1:6 scale release, we can see that it is 99.1 centimeters. Peculiarly, the re-release, and this is also on sideshow.com, says it is 100 centimeters. So sideshow.com have a discrepancy between the re-release and the original release of 9 millimeters. So why am I actually looking at the length of the Batmobile? Now, I do remember reading online that the Hot Toys Batmobile is not to scale, which I thought was disappointing considering it should be to scale. But in terms of the length, it turns out, or I read that it wasn't to scale. So I thought, let's have a look at that. So if we have a look here, the length in centimeters of the original Batmobile is 662.2 centimeters. Now, if we scale that down to 1/6, then what I've done is I've divided that by 6, and we get 110.4 centimeters. Now, we know that the length supposedly on the re-release is 100 centimeters according to sideshow.com. So what I did then was I worked out the difference. And we're coming up short with the Hot Toys. So really it should be 110.4 centimeters. Hot Toys is only giving us 100. And therefore we have a difference of 9.39% smaller in the Hot Toys vehicle, which actually proves that the Hot Toys, even though it advertises as a 1:6 scale, in terms of the length, it is not true. And that's actually really disappointing. And that is why I would not buy a re-release that has the same problem as the original, which I already have and I own. And I do enjoy the car, but it is disappointing to know that they got it 9.39% off in terms of the length. Now, there were speculations to say that it was an issue to do with shipping and they wanted to reduce the size of the box that it would ship in, or just to reduce the overall size of the package. And if that's true, I still think that it's not good enough or a good enough excuse, especially when you have companies now like Jazz Inc. that are actually making a scaled vehicle, and it will most likely be to scale in all dimensions. And lastly, by comparison, another issue I have with the re-release is that you do not get the cover, which is also the shielded look of the car, which I have in my original, but it is notably absent in the re-release. So you're actually getting less. Now moving on to the man himself, Batman. Now we're looking at the re-release figure here. And Hot Toys did a really good job with the original, which I also own and think is one of my best figures. Now, if we have a look at the belt first, I was not sure what the issue was with the belt, but it just hit me tonight. And that is that the vertical accents on the belt are not to scale. So if we look on the right here, the original belt, this is a screenshot from the movie, you can see that they are, by comparison, a lot thinner than in the Hot Toys figure. So in the Hot Toys figure, they are too thick from what I can see in the picture. Or they protrude too far forward, but they're the wrong size or the wrong scale. Now, the other issue with the belt is you can see that in the re-released figure, the belt is looking more like a bright yellow, whereas the belt in the movie had a slightly more gold hint to it. So the color is also not right. The next issue I have is the cape. Now, I've heard people say they love the new idea for the cape. It'll be more robust because the previous, more pleather cape was starting to disintegrate. I never had those issues with my figure. Now, with this cape, though, they've gone away from that pleather, which means it doesn't have that leather-like look, and it actually looks like a velvet material, which is totally off to the screen suit for Batman. We can see that here. It looks very dull, and in these close-up images, again, it just looks very matte, very dull. And in this image as well, we can see it's void of that leathery look, which is accurate to the screen-used Batman cape. In the re-release figure, if we have a look at this close-up of the cowl, you can see that there's a lot of texture there. If we look at the original released version, you can see that there's not as much texture in the cowl. Now, some people said that's a good thing because there was texture in the cowl in the movie, which is true. However, when we look at this version, the original, and look at this version, the re-release, and then compare it with the original costume, I think that the re-release has now gone over the top with that textured look. Here's a side-by-side comparison of the original costume, which is on the right-hand side, another screenshot from the movie. Compare that with the re-released Batman, and you can see that they have gone way overboard with the texture. Even though people have praised the fact that they've included texture, I think it was good in the first version, and now this is overkill. And if we compare side by side, we can also see the difference in the cape. So the cape had a seamless look with the cowl in the original movie, and now with this re-release, it looks like we're going from leather to velvet material, which again, I have issues with. And last but not least, we have Bucktooth Batman. Need I say more? So that's all I have for my critique. I think that's plenty there. They are the reasons why I will not be purchasing a re-released Hot Toys of the Batman or the Batmobile from 1989. Thank you for watching.